The purpose of this channel and the name of the channel is Grow in Love, right? Whose idea of love? Our individual idea of love? No. The Creator being's view of love, okay? And how do we do this? Well, the equation for how to grow in love is humility plus truth equals love, okay? I have another video where I talk about that a little bit more in depth, but basically what I'm saying is humility is the passionate desire to own and feel all of your own emotions. When I say truth, I mean the Creator's view of truth. And when we engage in the Creator's view of truth and we own our own emotions to feel out all of our suppressed emotions, we have the ability to receive God's love, which is a totally unique substance and changes us in ways that I can't fully explain. So, if we're talking about truth, I think it's important to break down some of societal's so-called norms and hold them to scrutiny to see if they are loving behavior, okay? So, let's talk about genital mutilation. Don't I mean circumcision? Well, it's interesting because in the English language, we actually create new words to hide the actual meaning of what the word is or what our action is or what we are engaging in doing. Okay? Circumcision is a word that prevents us from knowing the truth that it is genital mutilation. Now, let's go through some of the justifications, so-called reasons, as to why circumcision or genital mutilation is practiced in the United States. And again, not everyone is circumcised, but there's a fair bit of people out there that are. And even if circumcision stops today, talking about this topic will be helpful for those who were circumcised and for those parents who willfully allowed their children's genitals to be mutilated. Okay? How about the first justification? God's covenant with Abraham. Well, for those of you that know about this, okay, the story goes like this: that God told Abraham to mutilate the genitals of his son, and to pass on that tradition forward, so that God would be able to determine who her chosen people are. Well, I feel that there's so much error in that, because why would a physical person need to alter their physical body to let God know that they belong to them? I mean, if we know about the soul, we know that the physical body is just a condensation of energetic material from our soul layer that condenses down into our spirit body, that condenses down into our physical body, okay? So, when we come out, our body is a representation of our soul-based emotional material. So, altering the physical world is kind of useless in this regard. Okay. Also, it's kind of an arrogant belief that why would God create her children and then favor some over the others? Well, maybe some children have the ability to receive more of God's love, but that doesn't mean that God is favoring those children. That means that those children are taking responsibility for their emotional state and pursuing a relationship with the Creator being. Okay? And we don't have to do that. We can use our free will to not do that. And the vast majority of us do use our free will to not do that. Okay? So, in my view, this is heavy human projection onto God about what a human feels that God would want or do. How about Abraham, right? God's covenant with Abraham. Why would Abraham's relationship with God have anything to do with me or you or anybody else? as I have talked about in previous videos, each of us have a built-in mechanism that we can receive information and emotional material from the creator being and not need any other human guidance. And that makes sense, right? Because if we're interested in the truth, whose perspective, right? Yeah, humans can guide other humans, but really, we should be asking our true parent, God, what he thinks about any particular topic, okay? And your relationship with the creator has nothing to do with me, and my relationship with the creator has nothing to do with you. The reason why I'm making these videos is to highlight the principles of how any person can test these concepts out themselves for free to develop their own relationship with the creator. My view is that if you think this is true, you're in heavy addiction. How about the next one? Penile cancer and infections. Well, there's large parts of the world where men are not circumcised, where men's genitals are not mutilated. Is there an epidemic of penile cancer? Is this a serious problem? And not that I'm aware of, okay? And also, this shows a lack of understanding about what disease really is, okay? Disease is the manifestation of emotional errors that condense and metastasize into the physical body. We like to think cancer is this arbitrary, random thing. It's not. If you have cancer, own it. It's you, okay? That's how we take responsibility for ourselves, and that's how we heal, all right? So, again, this is addiction, okay? What about infections? Well, your penis could get infections because if it's not cleaned properly, okay? Parents, teach your children how to clean their entire body, including their sex organs. I mean, what are we talking about here? Should I cut off my hand if I don't know how to wash it? Is this ethical behavior? Do we treat any other part of our body like this? No. No. So this doesn't hold up to me either. How about the next one? Curtail wild sexual desires. Is it working? I think we're a heavily sexualized society, and I feel that there is much sexual perversion and sexual injury that exists on our country and our planet right now. And also, this fails to recognize what sexual attraction really is. In a previous video, Why Relationships Fail, I talk about what sexual attraction really is. And I'll make a longer video about what sexual attraction really is. But, here's what it is. It is emotional errors in your soul that condense into the spirit body and create vortices of energy blockages, where your own energy is not flowing as it was designed to flow. And then when you come across a person with a sympathetic emotional injury, a kind of spiritual cord is developed between the two people. And energy flows in that spot where it had previously not. And we interpret that as sexual attraction. So sexual attraction is actually error-based beliefs in the soul. It's got nothing to do with the physical penis. Okay? How about the various societal pressures? Well, before we even dive into these four, what is societal pressures? It's judgments, right? And what are judgments? We talked about judgments in another video. Judgments are a human's view of acceptable behavior. Another human. Humans have made every decision about this place, and it is a mess. So, like, human decision or human authority, in my view, is not the gold standard. We should be asking the Creator's perspective on any topic. And guess what? If we all did that, we would all come to the same conclusion. Okay? Looks like father. I hear this a lot, right? A father wants their child to look like them. Why? Well, it's actually because the father has incredible amounts of sadness inside of themselves, and they do not want to confront their own non-loving belief systems that they got from their parents and face the truth that their genitals were mutilated. It is easier to justify this kind of reasoning and pass on this injury to your child. You would rather, if you're a father that has allowed your child to be circumcised, you would rather enact violence on your own child than to feel out your own sadness. Do you feel that? I encourage you to express humility and own your own emotions. How about this one? Prevent ostracism. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Don't want to upset women. Well, I've talked to women about this topic. And by no means is my anecdotal conversations representative of every woman on the planet. But what I would say is that most women don't really seem to care about this. They don't really seem to care, okay? And this is a male projection onto women about their own insecurity about being different. If you were in a real loving relationship with a person, why would the woman care if you were circumcised or not? Okay. And if you were in a relationship with a woman and she did care, well then clearly that's her hang up and you shouldn't be in a relationship with that person. How about prevent ostracism? Right? So like if you're a male, smaller human and you're not circumcised and then somehow other male small humans see your uncircumcised penis and they start making fun of you, well, if you taught your children about the soul and how they can feel out their own emotions, those attacks would not affect them. And actually, they could tell the truth to those people that actually the reason why you're attacking me right now is because you have sadness that you don't want to face because your genitals were mutilated by your parents. Don't feel or remember. Again, this shows a lack of understanding of how the human soul operates. Just because a small human does not have a developed intellect does not mean they are not feeling and absorbing everything that happens to them. Let's say when your son is born, he can talk right out of the way, right? Right out of the gate, right out of the vagina. Or in my case, right out of the gut. Because I was born via cesarean section because I actually didn't want to come here. But that's a discussion for another video. If a child could talk right out of the vagina, maybe they would say, excuse me, Mom, excuse me, Dad, could you please not mutilate my genitals, please? It would be really painful. And it's really unnecessary. And you're doing it for a bunch of reasons that have nothing to do with my health or well-being. Yeah. Children absorb this. And as a result, they change their beliefs about love. This is where false beliefs are developed. Okay? Because the child needs to change their belief in order for self-preservation purposes. Okay? One more thing about this. As I discussed in the Fear Explained video, when you feel your suppressed fear, it transports you back to the original age and emotional state where you first experienced it. Okay? So part of the reason why people don't like feeling their own fear is because it locks them up. Okay? And they feel powerless and vulnerable. Well, like, if you're a newborn and you're getting circumcised, you're powerless and vulnerable. Okay? So, when I was laying in my bed, feeling out and shaking my own fear, not using my intellect to try to figure out what every emotion is, once the emotions leave you, you do feel what they were from, okay? So like I felt like I was in danger and I was not being cared for. And this is part of it, okay? These feelings are inside of us. They get stored and they fester because we don't want to release them. Now, do any of these justifications hold up under scrutiny? I don't feel they do. And the creator doesn't feel that they do either. Now let's take a look at the effects, okay, of the action of genital mutilation. Well, it's unethical treatment. Why would you mutilate the genitals of a boy but not of a girl? Now, I understand that in some parts of the world, female genital mutilation does happen. And I'm not endorsing that at all. But what I am saying is that in American society, it proves that our behavior is unethical. That we view men and women inherently differently, rather than being sovereign children of God. If we were ethical, we would either engage in genital mutilation for both males and females, or neither. Now, ethical behavior can be non-loving. So like, if we decided to just mutilate everyone's genitals, that's non-loving behavior, but it's still ethical. Ethics can be a tool for us to determine what could be loving behavior or not. I'll talk about ethics in another video. But essentially the notion is, well, if we're critically thinking here, okay, we don't feel that mutilating female genitals is loving, so then why would we mutilate male genitals? Okay? It's a willful ignorance of parents ceding to human authority. Okay? Child's just born, parents are basking in the glow, right? And then the doctor comes over, do you want your child circumcised? You know, a lot of parents will put more effort and energy into their Amazon gift registry, or like, what color paint is their child's room going to be, rather than critically thinking, is this loving behavior? If the doctor comes to you and asks you about genital mutilation, and you haven't thought about it at all, that is your own willful ignorance. And you would rather believe in so-called human authority. And then when you're questioned about it, you say, well, that's just what everybody else did. That's what was normal. That's what we did at the time. It's a justification for non-loving behavior. It's a refusal to feel your own emotions about how your genitals were mutilated, if you're a father. Or if you're a woman, a failure to recognize that this is brutal, violent behavior. And why would I continue this tradition? I'll talk more about the medical industry and ceding authority to other humans in other videos. But it's a big emotional error. It's a big error. We want other people to take responsibility for us, right? It's easier to say to ourselves, well, a Western doctor is saying that this is the right thing to do, so who am I to question them? Well, I would reference you back to the video on questioning authority. How about one of the first physical experiences is violence? Yeah. So remember how you don't think your children remember? They do. And if one of their first physical experiences is violence, it's creating a situation where they believe that violence is loving. This is an example of how we change our beliefs for self-preservation purposes. And we fail to recognize this and we don't address it, and then we grow up as adults and we've got these feelings inside of us that violence under certain circumstances is okay. And it's not. The Creator doesn't believe that violence is okay under any circumstance. What about if someone came into your home and pointed a gun at you? Are you allowed to pull out your own gun and shoot and kill them? Yeah, you can use your free will to do that. But guess what? If you're enacting violence in any way, you're not a peaceful, loving person. You've got errors inside of you that allow that violence to even happen to you. We'll talk about fear and death in another video, and guns in another video too. Parents are complicit in violent behavior. So, I just talked about that, like that the child will believe that under certain circumstances, violence is loving. So then if they take that belief out in the world and then they act in violent ways, they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. They don't feel like they're out of harmony with love. And then we wonder why our soul attracts so-called negative events. Why is this happening to me? It's because you've got an error in your soul. People are fighting in the streets right now in the United States. It's partly because of this. Because we are attracting violent events in order to get us to release our causal sadness. Creates deep wounds of rage, terror, and grief. Pretty self-explanatory. We don't want to admit to ourselves that we are acting in non-loving ways and perpetuating non-loving beliefs to future generations. This is what ancestral emotional injuries are. We would rather act as perpetrators of violence to innocent children than question our own non-loving belief systems and stand up to the people who enacted violence on us. If you're mutilating the genitals of your child, you actually have fear about confronting your parents. How's that feel? Were you able to watch this video all the way through, or did you have to stop it and come back to it? I encourage you to recognize that if you can't get through this video, it's because of emotions inside of you. I encourage everyone to experiment with the truth and feel out their suppressed emotions. If you've got rage, scream. Hit things that are not living, okay? Feel your anger in a general way, not projecting it at a person. Allow yourself to work through some of this stuff, okay? This is painful stuff. This is painful stuff. But everything starts with telling the truth and calling things what they are, okay? Circumcision is genital mutilation, okay? Good luck, my friends. Love and peace.